Hi, I'm Dave with Dave and Jen Ignite, and today we're going to learn how to memorize Romans 8:28 in 5 minutes. And if you stick around to the end, we do have a little bit of a bonus for you to help you remember things. So let's get started. Of course, one of the first things you have to decide is which translation of the Bible you're going to use. And this is the one I'll be using today, the NIV. But you may have a different one that you want to use. Fantastic. Getting the Word of God in our hearts, what really counts. And we've got another video on which translation should I use, and we'll put that in the card, and you can look that up and watch that one as well. So the first thing you want to do is write out the card. There's something called kinetic learning. So write out that memory verse on a card or on a whiteboard or something. But I like a card or even a Post-it note. So on a card, my lovely granddaughter gave me a business card, or excuse me, a 3x5 card the other day, so I could write this out. And I went ahead and wrote this out in preparation, and partly to refresh my memory, on Romans 8:28. So write it out, and that will help you because you can even remember positions of words or positions of punctuation marks. Where is the comma? And that may sound a little bit ticky, but those are supposed to be helpful for our memory. So write it out on a card or on a Post-it note or on a sheet of paper or some other place where maybe you just have a notebook that you keep your memory verses in. Write it out. That's the first thing. We've talked before about using the four-sided coin, and so that would be my next suggestion, of course. That is, get that coin, heads up, put it at the top, and simply read that verse. So since we're focusing today on Romans 8:28, I'll read Romans 8:28. And the reference at the beginning and the end so that we will remember where it is in case we don't have our card or if our memory gets a little foggy at some point. Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. Move it to the side. Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. At the bottom. Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, comma, who have been called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. On the side, Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. Now we're back at the top. We're going to flip that coin over. Before we do that, though, I just want to say, don't worry about it getting boring. Go through it as best as you can and just repeat it. This four-sided coin is going to be a great help for you. So, Romans 8:28, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, comma, who have been called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. Now let's try and do it, put it to the side and without looking at it. Romans 8:28, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. Romans 8:28, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. Go around and you do that heads, tails, heads. Now, just another suggestion, something to help you with your memory work, and that is, I mentioned a Post-it note. Put it on a Post-it note, and then you can put it in your car. Now, obviously, don't be doing this while you're driving. That would be a distracted driver, and we don't want to encourage that at any time. But you can have it in your car, and every time you get in, before you start your car, you can just review it. Or perhaps you've got somebody in the car with you, and they will even ask you about it, and you can have them help you review it. Or you can put it on your office, maybe on your screen of your computer, or some other place in your office where you can look at it and review it throughout the day. So a Post-it note is a very, very helpful device as well. So another hint, review it every day, just for a week. I'm not saying forever, although you may want to, but review it every day. For a week. Go through it over and over again. So here's that bonus memory hint, and that is discover the meaning of the verse and then take that into consideration as you memorize it. Take some time to just read it in the context. So maybe you read the whole chapter 8 of Romans for this, or maybe you at least read a paragraph or two before and a paragraph or two afterwards. Get the context and get the meaning. So the meaning of this particular verse, it does sometimes get abused, but it's very much an encouragement here, isn't it? And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who are called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. So it's encouragement. Now, please understand, it is Faith, not blindness, though. So we have faith that God's going to work for the good. Another part of the meaning here is that it does not say that all things are good. That's not what it's saying. It's not all things are good, but God works things for the good. See, our world is groaning to be redeemed. There are things that are happening that were not God's intent at creation necessarily, but our world is groaning and aching to get back to the perfection in which it was created. So, in all things, God can work for the good of those who love Him and are called according to His purposes. So, what verse would you like to have us bring to you for memory work? Maybe you've got a favorite verse in the Bible. Thank you for those of you, a couple of you have commented. Please keep that coming. And of course, please, if you're finding value, click like, subscribe. And I've discovered only, I think there are 75% of you who watch these and are not subscribed. So would you please subscribe and even click that bell to get notifications when we put out our new videos for you. Likewise, you can come back and find a playlist that is memory verses. And maybe your memory verse will be on there. So, once again, Romans 8:28, and we know that in all things God works for the good for those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. Romans 8:28. Don't worry if you stumble over a word or two to get started here. Work at getting the intent and the message in your heart, and you will be blessed. So until we get to see each other again, I'm Dave, and I pray God will bless you.